Hello, fellow CEOs. Welcome. We are on strategy number 43, lenses. And I've got some lenses here, right? If I put these on, you can see my reflection, you can see my ring light, but things look differently to me, right? So oftentimes that also occurs in our brain, the way we look at something. And that's what the card says. When you change the way you look at something, you can change the way something looks to you. And there is someone who said something very similar. I think it might be Eckhart Tolle. I'm not really sure. The way you look at something, I forget the exact phrase, but very similar and close to it. And I did not know that at the time I wrote these cards, but I really want you to focus on the way you look at things. Those are your lenses. And if you did the work a couple strategies ago in the past, hopefully you took a lot of those lessons and turned them into blessings. And that is a lens. And a lens is just a belief, something that you believe the way something happened. If you've ever been on a phone call with someone and you're in an argument and they cut the line, and you think they cut the line because you're having an argument. They didn't like what you had to say. You were arguing, they were upset, you were upset, and they hung up on you. Well, in reality, a lot of things could have happened. Yes, they maybe could have cut the line on you for sure. But maybe, back in the day, the phone service went out, or they dropped their phone and it broke, or their battery died. I know I've had that happen so many times. I've been on conversations, good ones, and, somebody was just telling me a story, and sure enough, the battery dies, and that's the end of the conversation. You have to wait a few minutes before you call them back. But your mind starts racing, right? You wonder why the phone died. Did they hang up on you? Oh my gosh, how dare they? All these different circumstances. And that happens in every situation in life, the way you look at something. And when you change your lens, you're changing your perception, obviously, and your belief about that. And that's where miracles happen. Miracles are the change in your perception, because they change absolutely everything. The way you act, the way you feel, the way you think, they change your mood, right? So many different things. When you change your lens, your belief changes and the results change in your mind of the experiences that you're having, which is absolutely amazing. It changes your reality. It truly does. And it ties right into visualization, because then those lenses start to help you visualize your life a little bit differently. And I have a couple examples that I wrote down here, car accidents, bad or good, whatever you can think of. But things happen all the time, and it's how you look at them. And I'll give you an example of, I had two people in my life who had unfortunate events, or fortunate events, depending on how you look at it, in their life, and their house flooded. Okay. They had to move into an apartment, thousands of dollars worth of damage, lots of things lost, of course. And one person's perspective was, wow, we got new floors. We got to go in a hotel. They both had children. And one of them saw it as, yes, an inconvenience, of course. But what a blessing. I got new floors everywhere. It was paid for. They paid for our hotel. They paid for our food during that time, that 3 weeks that we were out of the house. It was absolutely amazing. And now it's like we have a brand new house that we get to move back into, and everything is repaired. They were very, very grateful and thankful and looked at it from a very positive light. The other person did not. And the mom specifically said, man, I need to go to church more. I can't believe these things, this bad thing is happening to me. I don't know what I'm doing to create it, but wow, this is awful. Can you believe that I have to move out? And it's just horrible living out of a hotel room, even though it has a kitchen and blah, 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 blah. And she focused on, all the negative things that were brought about her having to move out. And it was so interesting to me because they were in very close time proximity to one another. And so I saw the correlation of their attitudes, their perspective, their lenses, whatever you want to call it, their beliefs of why things happen the way they do. And so I really challenge you to change the way you're looking at certain things, because you know what those things are that you complain about, that you feel like you're a victim of. And the other one is confabulations versus evidence. And this ties into lenses as well, because as a court reporter for 28 years, I'd listened to people who were involved in the same accident, but would have very different perspectives on what happened. And sometimes I call it, the word is confabulation. They make up a story in the middle that they didn't have the evidence for. And so just be leery of that and catch yourself if your brain is doing that. Just like we were talking about the phone earlier, when someone cuts you off or the phone dies, whatever it is, don't make up a story in your mind. Wait to get the evidence and talk to the person and see what happened. Don't try to make up what happened in the middle where you're lacking evidence, where you're not sure exactly what happened. Don't make a story up in your head, because sometimes that's inaccurate and that's already changing your perspective. And that happens as well. Another thing is, don't gossip about people, because unfortunately that does create that lens. When you say, oh gosh, that person, last time they were over, they stole from me. And I'll be honest, they are thieves. And you know what? Unless that is absolutely evidence, and even if it is evidence, really be leery of sharing something negative about someone, because let's face it, we've all made mistakes. Hopefully they made up for it, whatever it is, and moved on. So when you say something negative, very negative, and it is definitely affecting their reputation, how people will see them, their lenses toward them, their belief towards who they are as a person, it can be very detrimental. So I really caution you against doing that. Another thing is, everything comes out in the light. So whatever happens, the evidence will come out eventually. It always does. And I've always said there's 3 sides to every story, because there's one side, the other side, and in the middle, there's the truth. And why do I say that? Because we each have our lenses. We bring with us these experiences, our emotions, our thoughts about what happened, right? And sometimes we don't have all the evidence, but we think we do. We always think we're right. Of course, nobody ever goes into an argument going, I'm wrong, but I'm going to prove this point anyway. I guess if you're an attorney, maybe, but most people don't do that. We think we're right. Why? Because we feel like our emotions, our thoughts, our experiences bring forth the knowledge that makes us correct. But it's important to put on a different lens and try to see that perspective from somebody else's point of view. And let's see what else I had here that make me invisible. 90% of life is how you react to things. Only 10% is what actually happens to you, right? It is absolutely true. Lenses are how people see different things. Life sometimes is bad or good. It really isn't. It's just, it is the way it is. And it's the way you perceive it. It's your perception. So just be aware of your lens and where you maybe need to tint your lens or put on new lenses or put on glasses, because sometimes we have a big gap between our perception of our life and the reality of ourselves, of our life, how we're treating people, how we're affecting others. And so I caution you to, number one, be careful of how you are changing someone else's lens in terms of somebody's opinion of someone else, especially in a negative light. But also, I really encourage you to put on lenses in the areas that you are trying to work on, and really focus on seeing things a little bit differently. And instead of being right, all of us want to be right. Try to listen to understand and put on that lens of empathy and forgiveness. Put on different lenses today and every day in areas of your life that you need to grow and improve on. And so that is today's strategy. I'm sorry, it's a long one, but it's super important because it could, if you apply this strategy, it could change everything in your life. Oftentimes people wait for something to have their lenses changed. They wait for an experience in their life, like a cancer diagnosis, a horrible accident that is life-threatening, that all of a sudden they feel like, oh my gosh, I really need to change the way I see things because my life is not, there is an expiration date there. I'm not going to live forever. So how do I want to change that? And I'm encouraging you to not wait. Look at your life through the lens of you have today is guaranteed and you don't know how long you're going to live, but you should still be mindful of the things that you're doing and live each day as absolutely magical as you can. Like Disney, right? That's why Disney is such an attraction, because it's a magical place. It makes you feel good. It's all happy. So try to do things that make you happy today and focus through the lens of, I'm not going to wait until someone dies to tell them I love them or I care about them. I'm not going to wait because you don't need to. Life is happening today. It's happening right now, right? And that's what we just talked about on the last strategy of being mindful, really paying attention to this present moment. And that's the same for the lenses. So be mindful of the lens that you are bringing to a situation, the lens that you're seeing something through, and see if you can switch it. And maybe you switch back, but at least open your mind up to that possibility that there's another way to see it. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Please comment, reach out to me. I always love to hear from you. So let me know. And if there's anything I can do to help, I'm always here for you. Liz Royce with 52 CEOs.